Friday, y'all. I am Alderoth, your host, and this is Quest of the Mental. All right, today is my day to get yelled at. And why do I say that? Because today I'm going to talk about marijuana. And why am I going to get yelled at for that? Because despite popular belief, if you have manic depressive disorder or if you have psychosis of any sort, marijuana is not necessarily the best thing for you. It's a hit or miss, okay? Now, does that mean you should never, ever try it? You should never look into it? You should just completely avoid it altogether? No, you should be discerning, okay? The thing is, little crackhead Joe down the street who's selling dime bags out of the back of his car, he does not know what strains he's selling. Does that make any sense? Like he's not a connoisseur of marijuana, and he's not going to give you a strain that's going to help you with your high anxiety or help you with your sleep. He's not going to know those things. Does that make any sense? Now, I did a little digging, some very light digging, and one of the very first studies that I stumbled onto, I went to Google Scholar, which anybody can do, and I found a study from 2016, and it was a very small study, but it was funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, okay? Very reputable place, but it was a very small controlled group. They had 18 bipolar patients, 23 marijuana users, and 21 healthy controls, which means they don't have bipolar and they don't smoke, right? And their conclusion back in 2016 was they claimed that for some bipolar patients, marijuana alleviated their clinical symptoms. Moreover, this improvement is not at the expense of additional cognitive impairment. So back then they were saying that for some bipolar patients, it was all right, which is basically what I'm saying right now. Like, it's not for everybody, but you've got to be a discerning adult. All of you people who smoke weed, who keep pushing the weed narrative onto everybody, are assholes. Just straight up assholes. It's not for everybody, okay? Now, if you fast forward just a bit, in 2018, an article jumps out, and it's titled, "Acute Marijuana-Induced Psychosis May Predict Future Illness." And in there, they talk about how people who smoke experience acute psychotic symptoms that are time-linked to smoking. So from the time they smoke, they begin to experience psychotic symptoms. And it can go on for 48 hours up to a week. So even though they haven't smoked in like 2 days, they could still be having those symptoms. And then, of course, if you're one of those weed positive people and you keep pushing weed onto people who are experiencing psychotic episodes, you're exacerbating the problem. So stop. Okay? Now, go a bit further than that. The same people who funded that first study that I talked about, that very first one, the National Institute on Drug Abuse, they now, on their website, if you go to the National Institute of Drug Abuse, They say that they now admit several studies have linked marijuana use to increased risk for psychiatric disorders, including psychosis, depression, and anxiety. So, I'm not saying you shouldn't smoke weed, okay? By all means, if you feel it's what you want to do, it's what you need to do, it's just it helps, then by all means do it. But I find it very harmful for people to shove it into other people's faces. And what do I mean by shoving it in people's faces? Well, you see it all the time on Facebook. Why don't you just smoke a joint? I'm going to go smoke later. Anybody down? It's it's everywhere that you turn. You can't get away from it. And even though there are actual, like I said, studies showing that harmful things can happen to certain people and that people should be very mindful of these risks that can come with it, people don't care. They're not worried about you. They don't care about you. They're pushing a product. It's like when beer was being advertised on television, beer and alcohol and cigarettes on TV and magazines and comic books. The way that they show weed and stuff on TV and ads and on social media, it's just so in your face. And it makes it out like it'll just solve all your fucking problems. Like it's just going to fix everything. And the truth of the matter is, it could actually lead to more problems. I mean, you imagine smoking a joint, you feel fine for like 2 days, and then all of a sudden you have these symptoms of schizophrenia or depression and massive anxiety, and you don't know where they're coming from because you were told marijuana's safe. There's no reason for these things to happen. Oh, it's just all in your head. Yeah, it's in your head. And it got put in there. I mean, can you just imagine? So, I am glad that marijuana is getting more accepted because that means more studies can be done to get the more beneficial properties out of it. Trust me, we've got a lot of medications out there that cause a lot of problems. I know that. I take a lot of medications that cause a lot of problems. But having marijuana just totally rampant, just running free, where somebody could just, oh man, the worst case scenario is horrible in my mind. Someone taking it, going into a psychotic episode and hurting themselves or hurting someone else. That's like the worst thing in the world. I mean, psychosis for a mental disorder is horrible. Oh man, I gotta quit thinking about that. Anyway, I just think that it should be regulated to an extent, not fully like only medical use. I think it should have a recreational use to an extent, but people need to be a little more conscious of who they're offering it to and not be so overbearing with that whole, oh, weed will solve everything. Weed fixed my back. Weed repaired my knees. Weed cured my cancer. Weed fixed the HIV infection that I had. I mean, people come up with some very weird shit about what weed has done for them. I mean, very, very strange stuff. Let's see. We got like, I don't know, 5 minutes left. We got, yeah, about 5 minutes left. So, yeah, that's my whole spiel on the marijuana thing. Like I said, again, it's really cool that it's not. I really hope the decriminalization goes through because it's not worth going to jail over. That I agree with 150%. I don't think anyone should be in jail for that. I think that people who were trafficking weed or selling weed, anything of that nature, I do not think they should be in jail at all. I just think again, my whole thing is people should be understanding of the fact that weed can have very harsh effects on people with mental health disorders. And when you go around screaming about why don't you just smoke some weed and people start, just doing that, it can lead to some very adverse side effects. That's all I'm getting at on that whole thing. But the whole decriminalization, I think it's criminal the way that they've treated people who have sold marijuana or even just brought it in or brought it across state lines and stuff. Most of those people were just trying to make a living because this country is so screwed up. I mean, just trying to make a buck, I mean, Lord, if I knew how to do it, I'd do it. But I'm not that smart. I am not that smart. Don't approach me for anything like that because I'm not that smooth. Oh man. This last half is just going to be me BSing. How much longer we got? That went a lot shorter than I thought. 12:40. Oh, having issues with the VA. I guess I'll include this on this little episode. The VA is coming after me again like they did in 2015. They're now saying that I've gotten miraculously better from post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I have not done any official evaluation for this. They just sent me a letter and said, "Hey, you've gotten better. here's a decrease in your percentage." And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" So I got really, really pissed off because last time they did it, they dropped me. They thought I was working full time when I was actually a part-time employee, and that it took me 3 years to convince them that they screwed up. Like, it was ridiculous. So I'm in the process of fighting with the VA at the moment, and that's causing the headache. I've got to get a DEQ from my doctor that I see right now, and hopefully that'll appease the the VA gods. Oh man, I can't go through another bankruptcy. Oh my god, that was freaking horrible. I had gotten evicted. I had a repossession of my car. I mean, it was a horrible incident. But next week will be an interesting week. They sent me the permission letter, or the I forget what it's called. The letters to fight them on my behalf. So I've got to fill all that stuff out, send it back, and then the rep that I've got, he's going to talk to the VA to find out why. And the reason that they think that they're doing it is because I started going to school, because I'm going to school for IT. And just because I signed up for school, he thinks that I've gotten, or they think I've gotten better because I'm attempting to go to school. I haven't even passed my first class yet, and they think I've gotten better. I'm like fighting with my teachers. Like, that's how bad it is. Like, it's hard for me. I am a difficult student. I am a very difficult student. But of course, that's the bipolar. You know, that's the moods swings that happen. Sometimes the anxiety is way too much and it's hard for me to focus. The depression, oh my God, the soul-crushing depression just freaking nails me to the floor. And I don't even want to look at my computer. I just want to sit and just stare off into nothingness and just have nothing to do with society or the world. I didn't even want to do this podcast today, but I know that I've got to get something out. I've got to do something. I have to do anything. You know, I promised myself that I would do either the podcast or keep updating the tuber, or I would, I started doing the IG, the Instagram TV thing with the Facebook. I'm trying to keep myself going. I've got to keep forward momentum. That's the main thing, is keep going forward, right? Well, I am going to be heading out. I'm Alderoth, your host, and this is Quest of the Mental.